Hey everyone, Kathy the Vegan Prepper here, and today I'm going to be pre-cleaning a lot of my whole wheat berries to make grinding a little easier, and I'll bring you along on the process. Vegan Prepper, Vegan Prepper. Right, as you can see from the label on the bucket, this used to be where I stored my bread flour. Now it is where I keep my hard red wheat berries. And though this was a full bucket when I started, so I have been doing relatively well with getting through it, I know that I would be utilizing it more if I didn't have to stop and clean it every single time. And so I'm going to go through cleaning this entire, what amount is remaining. I will clean all of that and get it back into the bucket, just ready to use, so that all I have to do is scoop it right into my mill. And so I will show you what cleaning wheat is and what it looks like for me, in case you don't know what that process looks like. All right, I'm going to start by getting what's left in the bucket into this big bowl onto my table. Okay. So when we're talking about cleaning a dry grain like wheat, so basically what we're doing is looking through it for anything that doesn't belong. It's basically like sorting your beans, only you're doing it for your grains. And the way that I like to do it is to get just like a baking dish. Sometimes if I'm only grinding a little, I'm using a smaller baking dish, but because I have this big project, I'm gonna do a little bit more at once. And I just sort of flatten it, and I'm looking and I don't see anything, and then I move it to the other side. And then I just flatten another section, kind of look, and then here is just some little random pea or something. It's kind of funny, this particular batch has just a whole bunch of these little peas in them, and it's a very strange thing, but you know, whatever. That happens, I guess, when things are getting milled. I get all of my wheat berries so far from Azure Standard, and so I'm also seeing, you know, like there's a random, like, I don't know, kind of just like a little dark thing that doesn't look quite right. And so a little wheat kernel that was not fully, like the little husk of the wheat kernel didn't fully come off. And so I'm just gonna go through it like this. So overall, the wheat from Azure, I find, has been very clean, with the exception of those little peas. And so I just sort of go back and forth and do this project, do it a little bit, you know, over and over again, a little at a time. And then that is, you know, just basically all there is to it. It's nothing overly complicated. It's actually kind of super relaxing. Like I like to do this. I don't even want TV on. I don't put music on. I just sink into the task, and it's so relaxing. I don't know. I know probably other people might not find it that way, but I find myself lately more and more with a lot of these household tasks. I'm not even putting on music or a show or anything. I'm just allowing myself to experience the task, and it's just so relaxing. So I'm gonna go ahead now. This is all clean. So doesn't involve any water at all, because you don't want to get anything wet. You don't want to get your grinder wet. And so I'm going to go ahead and just dump this now back into the bucket. And we'll start the next batch until the entire bowl is empty. We're in the middle of another transition where I'm working on trying to use pretty much exclusively the flour that I grind from the whole grains that I have stored for everything that we're making right now that is requiring flour. And so I'm definitely not 100%, not even really 50%. It is a journey for sure. I actually just finished the last of the 50-pound bag of whole wheat pastry flour that I had on hand. I just refilled my bucket of whole wheat pastry flour in my pantry. And so once that bucket is emptied, I will be refilling that bucket with soft wheat berries to sort of emulate that whole wheat pastry flour feel. Whole wheat pastry flour is a really great substitute for all-purpose flour for most things. Not breads though, so definitely it's not for like yeasted
items or items that require yeast. It's more for your muffins and your cakes and your cookies and things like that. Work really well usually with a whole wheat pastry flour, and then you're getting a little bit more nutrition. But yeah, I'm going to be filling the bucket with soft wheat berries. And then once I'm done with that whole wheat pastry flour, I better know some things by then. So that's kind of what we're looking at right now. I'm using unbleached organic all-purpose flour as kind of a transitionary helper to me as I'm learning how to use the home ground flours and utilize them in more items. Kind of gradually decreasing the amount of all-purpose flour I'm using, and sort of tweaking and trying to figure out like what is the change that I need to make in order to make this work. It's a whole different animal working with your home ground flours versus the aged flours that you get in the store, because not only are the ones in the store older, they've also been sifted. A lot of the bran is taken out, and so it's just a different thing. But I am determined to learn. There's a lot of really great channels. I've been watching a lot of the channel Grains and Grit, and while I don't necessarily always agree with everything that she does, because it seems like sometimes a lot of the stuff that she does in order to make her stuff, and I'm not criticizing at all, I'm just saying this is for me personally, a lot of the stuff that she does, like she had a whole grain focaccia bread that she made, but it was like buckets of oil, like buckets. So we try really hard not to use a lot of oil in this house, but like that, yeah, I was just like, almost anything would taste good if you put that much oil in. You just basically are deep frying your bread. So I don't even know. So anyway, certain things where I'm just like, I don't agree. Like she made a biscuit recipe with straight up lard, for instance, and things like that. And obviously I'm not going to be using lard, but I still watch because there's a lot of really valuable information on that channel. So that is definitely probably more so than any other channel I've found so far on YouTube. That channel talks more and more about using the home ground flours than anything else. But if you know of another really great resource to let me know for my own personal research and growth, please let me know. But yeah, I'm just basically trying to remove all impediments to continuing this journey. This is basically going to be, I feel like this is just going to be another one where like when we went from canned beans to all dry beans, and I have a video all about that. I can link that down below. I'll link the Grains and Grit channel below. Like I said, it's valuable. I've learned a lot, but yeah, I don't necessarily, I've got to figure out my own way of making these recipes without using tons of oil and things like lard and stuff like that. So anyway, I'm gonna get back to this, and I will show you everything that I picked out of this bowl of wheat when we're at the end. Here is the total that I picked out from that half bucket of hard red wheat berries. So overall, I would say, yeah, Azure stuff is pretty clean. And actually, with the exception of that one stone that I already showed you guys, it's right here. The one actual stone, most of this was just, yeah, like these little peas or little unhulled pieces or like little weed seeds or whatever. So overall, I gotta say I'm pretty impressed with how clean the grain is from Azure in general. I feel like this is far less than I would have expected to have to pull out from that amount. All right, so actually that whole project took a few days to complete because I had to stop for multiple things. I actually ended up last minute helping one of my friends move. So I used up a ton of my time on on my whole weekend, both my weekend days, trying to go ahead and take care of that. And just all, like a lot of stuff went down. I did still get the project done. Why on earth would I subject myself to doing this whole thing en masse rather than a little at a time? The truth is, not only do I believe it's actually less work to just sort of do it en masse with only one time using that baking dish, only one time using my scooper or whatever, so that it's not like every single time I go to make bread, I have to pull out a baking dish and then measure and then sort and then grind. Like, it's a lot to go through to even start a task that's already adding an extra step to my bread making process, which is grinding my flour. I don't mind that so much, but for me personally, I believe being some kind of undiagnosed neurodivergent person, whether it's ADHD or autism or whatever. I have something like many women my age. I'm turning 40 this year. So many women my age and even like a little older often find that we go undiagnosed many times. It's getting better now, but for a long time, most of us sort of like fell through the woodwork. And so for me personally, I find it easier to devote myself, like my focus gets triggered in my brain for a really large project. Whereas for even a simple everyday project, if I have to do extra steps, honestly, those extra steps make it feel impossible. And now, praise God, I have gotten to the point in my life, like I said, I am almost 40, I have adapted and I can talk myself through that. A lot of times what I do is I trick myself. I say, look, just do it for only 5 minutes. And after 5 minutes, if you still don't want to do it, you can stop. And like 99 times out of 100, once I've been doing something for 5 minutes, I'm totally set and I'm ready to continue. It's just starting is the hardest thing for me sometimes. And so getting this entire project done ahead of time, a project like this, or, you know, like similar projects, it allows me to move forward with the life that I want to live, cooking from scratch, doing homemade stuff, extra nutritious stuff for my family, without having to get that kind of paralysis of starting the task because there's too many little steps in the way of actually getting the task done. I don't know if I explained that very well, but there you go. That's the reason I did it. So very happy. I've already actually dipped into my bucket twice to grind some flour for bread. I am very thick now into my experimentations with a bread machine home ground flour recipe. As soon as I figure that out, I will absolutely be making a video about that to help you all out. But like I said, Grains and Grit is a great channel to get started learning about some of the whole wheat stuff and home ground whole wheat things. Because there's a lot of stuff that there's not really a lot out there, it seems, for the home ground wheat, at least not that I have found. If you have some other sources that you really love, please let me know in the comments down below. But as always, I hope the rest of your day is good and your life stays wonderful. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this one. See you guys later.